Hi, I thought I'd do a little demonstration of Braide and look at some of the features so you get an idea. I'm particularly excited about the new rich text responses where the agent sends HTML back and Braide is able to integrate that and make it interactive. So for example here I wanted to do a little bit of an exploration of what the prompt sequence looks like, the flow of data from the user when you enter a prompt down here, how it flows through the application. So I asked for a sequence diagram for how prompts go to the user, from the user to the agent, and the responses that are returned. This is, in this case, Claude, showing its thinking and the tool calls that it made, and then it produces a rich text response. We get our sequence diagram and it shows the various API calls and the data going backwards and forwards, as we might expect. It also provides a little bit of a post analysis as well, and then we get some buttons here that allow us to kick off an alternative variation or an exploration from that original. So I can just click those, it'll automatically fill the prompt and submit it. In this particular case, I typed my own response because I wanted the sequence diagram to show the request and response payloads. So it regenerated. It didn't actually update the sequence diagram itself. Instead, it put the calls down here as expandable sections. So if we look at point 4, which is up here on the diagram, we can drill into that, and it shows us the actual API message that gets the route that gets called and the payload for a notional request. We can see various elements of that. It chose to leave out the queuing messages branch, which is a variation of how messages go in. So I asked it to generate that as well. So it updated. We've got more points on the sequence diagram to cover queuing, and then it shows us again the payloads as it goes. And again, we get buttons at the bottom which allow us to actually trigger an additional follow-up question. You'll see here it says trace the DQ trigger in the code. If I click on that, it actually puts a longer message into the prompt. I'll cancel that so it doesn't actually go and do it. And then I've got some more examples here of, here I was just playing around. There's no code base behind this. I was just asking it to generate different types of architecture, flowcharts, different types of diagram. And again, here I clicked on the more ER and state diagrams, so it went away and produced a few more variants. And then it came up with a complex order fulfillment process. And I could then drill in and say, what does the SQL look like for that? So it's all nicely formatted with call to action for various things. If I look at here, I was looking at illustrating the package dependencies. It shows how the repo is laid out with the various packages. And then it drilled into a particular, just the Electron package, and then started talking about how that was formatted and things like external dependencies that are in there as well. We've then got things like visual directions. So for example, here I asked it to look at this area, the prompt area at the bottom of the screen, and give me some different styling options for that. So it produced a prototype for each of the styling options that we wanted with a call to action. This one, it says, is the recommended. It's picked out one of them as the recommended style. I actually preferred this cleaner one. So asked it to do prototype E, took the direction E, and then came up with a refinement around that. Also allows me to look at different states. So when it's prompted, when it's running, when it's paused, whether I have a solid or a tinted accent on the button, whether rich responses are turned on, whether scheduling is turned on, and how that updates the interface. The ability to just flick them backwards and forwards between light and dark themes, or whatever the host default is. All of this is theme aware, so if I switch the overall app theme over to the light theme, you see everything updates as we would expect. We can still see the dark theme preview. And I did some more iterations on that to try and get certain things. It didn't like some of that, but that was an interesting variation. Again, we've got here a variation on looking at the ways that the splash screen shows up when we're launching a session, and how it might want to format that around different styles. We had an illustration example which showed us a flow diagram or an entity relationship diagram, and then that went into a sequence diagram as well. We've got structure variants, which is kind of that same as that prompt one, but again it's interactive, so we can choose different states according to what the application shows. This is restyling of this area over here. It was just an exploration of that. Again, we could choose one to refine. It produced variants on that, whether we wanted, how many columns we wanted in a grid view, and the density, spacious or compact. So, that's a really good way if you were normally dealing with the chat style responses from an agent. You'd be getting a wall of text and no real idea as to what any of that actually looks like in reality. So this seems like a really great enhancement to the way that we interact with the agents. We've got visual directions. That's, again, it's just showing a choice of directions that we could refine on. And up here I've just been doing that prompt area restyling. I've not even looked at this yet, so we'll have a look and see what it did. And that was my requirements, following on from that earlier prompt area styling. And so it then shows proposed, and we can see here that we've got mode, model and effort up here. And then the buttons down here for whether we have rich responses or not. That looks a little bit cleaner. It's created a separation between these two, which I didn't want. So I'll probably look at putting a refinement on that. I can actually, if I can pick one, oh, there we go. That one's, no, not quite. I wanted the buttons up top. Or a unit, so it's done split two boxes or a unified box. But oh no, there we go. It's actually given us that option, so I can choose unified one box. That's pretty close to what I was thinking of. Looks like it's dropped a couple of options from that though. It's de-emphasized the submit button, which is not great. So I'll come back to that. Don't want to do that right now. Here we were looking at, there's an occasional, when you get rich text responses, the resize of the viewport isn't quite right and it crops the bottom of it slightly. Also, we were getting some flicker. So it's done its analysis, it's come back. It's actually done the changes as well. Tells us what the root cause is. What the symptoms are for crop and flicker, changes how it injects into the iframe to resolve that, and then it gives us some simple buttons to commit and push. So that's basically a lot of the user interface. We can see up here we've got a diff that shows us which files have changed. This is a sort of mini, just shows the hunks that have changed so that we can quickly see what's going on. These are grouped by commit if you've got a session running with multiple commits, and we can choose to expand, and then it will show us just the files and any changes since we branched from, in this case, from main. So that gives us a good way. If we decide that we don't like some of this, we can always jump into edit, and it will open a tab with that file in it. We can scroll down and find whatever we wanted to change. So that's a very quick tour of Braide and looking at how rich text responses can enhance the user experience.